All right, so today I'm going to be working on that second part of the shifter install like we had talked about before, trying to get that all buttoned up and, you know, making whatever brackets for mounting the shifter and getting those cables where they need to be. So let's get to it. All right, so where we left off last time, I was working on getting this to fit. And at this point, after looking at it more, the cable's pretty much got to go through here, so I'm going to end up doing some real big cuts. Pretty much everything on that side is just going to be gone, so let's get at her. Okay, we're getting closer to working. There's not much left of this console at this point. I think there's still some more cutting to be done, actually, but I think next step, I think what I need to do is I need to get in here. I think I'm going to start trimming the foam out of these because it's hitting this wiring harness that I had to move out of the way. Same thing on that side, and the carpet's sitting out so far that I can't get the console to actually like go all the way down. And then once I get that done, then I'm going to start figuring out whether or not I need to cut this back part. I think my first plan, I think what I'll probably do is I'll drill the hole up there first, see how the cables run through, and then make a decision on whether I want to cut the back. So you can see right here that you can see that pilot hole that I made. So it makes things a lot easier than just trying to guess from coming down here. Yeah, in case you didn't know, these yeah, this isn't what that's meant for. just a cheap one from Harbor Freight. I've had it work before, but it's not easy, that's for sure. The other thing that doesn't help is that this drill doesn't have variable speeds, and the trigger is like pretty much on or off. So yeah, makes things difficult. So if you guys don't have a 90-degree drill, this piece that I was using, super cheap. You can get these at Harbor Freight for like, I can't even remember, it's like $10 or something. They're dirt cheap. Totally worth it. Like, I will admit, they're not the greatest piece of hardware in the world. I wouldn't use it every day, but like for doing this kind of stuff, dude, they're fucking great. Definitely get yourself one. Okay, so I got the hole drill down there. It's definitely not what I wanted. I wasn't able to get a full hole. I ended up having to do a bunch of bullshit to make it happen. In any case, so the cables are ran. Now the problem I'm having is kind of exactly what I thought I was gonna have. The cables are bound up right there and it won't go down. So at this point, I think I'm gonna end up cutting this whole end off. Just leave these couple of bolt holes here, and hopefully I'll have enough room to, you know, ram some bolts down in there and mount it. All right, so with it cut off back here, it's better. I can get things lined up. I can get it to go into like a few of the gears, but man, it's really tough. And I think it's because it's still like the cables coming through the hole are still like partially kind of kinked a little bit. That and the way I had to run the cables, I ran the cables around the steering rack because they're so fucking long. I might try rerouting them on this side, on the left side of the steering rack, which I had them before, but my problem is I think they're gonna be so long, I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. But I'm gonna try grinding that hole out some more and then messing around with rerouting it again. Okay, so you can kind of see what I got going on under here now. I've got these two holes, or this hole that I ended up, you know, kind of grinding down to give more clearance. I mean, that is about as close to that plastic duct as I can get. See, there's with the shifter in. The cables, I think I can probably attach them over to this side and I should have plenty of room. I ended up going one on this side and one on that side of the power steering rack to get it to clear, and everything seems to be shifting correctly, so I think it's gonna work. Okay, so I drilled 2 holes for the rear of this shifter unit. I've got a couple nuts here and I'm gonna weld these onto the body here so I don't have to do a bunch of jacking around putting this shifter in and out. And then I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to modify this opening, and I think I'm gonna add a piece of plate and drill some holes in it so I can bolt the front side down. And then the plan is I'm gonna find a piece of sheet metal that I can bolt onto these 4 holes here to cover up that hole. And then I still gotta figure out what I'm gonna do about this part, which I haven't decided yet. Well, that looks like it's gonna work. Just need to wait for it to cool down a little bit, and then I'm gonna put the shifter back in, mark where the holes need to be, and then I'm gonna drill it for some nut certs. I think that'd probably be the easiest way to go on this one. Okay, so now let's kind of see what I'm doing. I've got this hole up in here, right? And here's my plan. Basically, I'm gonna have those 2 bolt holes up there. I'm gonna hold it in, and then I'm gonna have, there's 2 bolt holes under this tape, and then I'm gonna have a piece that goes all the way to here that's gonna close up this hole. I haven't decided if I'm gonna put a bolt hole here. We'll see. It depends on how it fits once I get it actually in metal. So I'm gonna start making this out of sheet metal and move from there. Oh, and then also I'm gonna drill 2 holes. Once I get this all bolted in with those other 4, I'm gonna drill those 2, and you know, that way I can mount the front of the shifter straight to the piece of metal. And I think I'm gonna actually weld nuts on the bottom of this piece of sheet metal. I think that'll make more sense than try to do nut certs like I was talking about earlier. Yeah, it's pretty close. Alright, I think I got it all mounted up now. See, I got the 2 bolts back in there, running 2 bolts up in there, and you can see that metal plate. You can see it's mostly covered. There's a little bit of air in there, but I figure once its foam is down and, you know, the rest of it's on there, I don't think it'll be a problem. But yeah, it's a little stiff going into first and second. I might have to mess with the adjustments, but all the gears are there, so that's good. All right, so down here you can see what I got going on. Everything's all covered up. Just a little bit of, you know, like I said, there's a little bit of space right in there, but it's pretty damn good. And there's the 2 nuts that I welded on for the main shifter bolts. There's the other shifter bolts, and these are just holding that plate on. Here you can see with the shifter out what I got going on. You can see that metal plate in there. that piece that I made, how well it's all covered up. All right, guys, well, that's gonna be a wrap for the shifter install. I got all the hard parts figured out. There's still a few things that obviously need to be done. I still need to bracket those cables up against the tunnel, and I still need to get like all the heat shielding in there and whatnot. That, and then I took all the parts out so I could paint the like the bracket, the pieces that I had made, and then I painted the spots in the car where I had to weld on and whatnot. Obviously, we don't want anything rusting. So next time I'll be putting it all back in and make sure everything is shifting the way it should. I mean, it felt okay. It was a little stiff going into first and second, but I'm guessing that's probably just because it needed adjusted a little bit. So once I get it in there and make a couple tweaks, I'm sure I can get it back to where it needs to be. That, and I think I'm going to add a couple spacers between that piece of metal that I welded in, between that and then the sheet metal plate on the bottom, because otherwise I'm going to get a little bit flex. I'm going to put a couple spacers between those bolts to tighten it up. And yeah, I think next time I'm working on the car, I've got the driver's side axle here. I still need to swap those out, make sure that one's going to work. Intermediate shaft is still MIA. I'm still waiting on my buddy to get that, and then I can work on that. I think the main thing I'm going to be tackling next time is probably going to be the wiring harness, which is, it's going to be a big task. And then I don't have all the fuel parts yet. I might try messing around with using the stock fuel rail, just see if it starts. If I get to that point before I can get a fuel rail, so I haven't even ordered one yet. So I guess we'll see, but there's obviously a lot more to do. So, keep watching, subscribe, like, do all that stuff, and peace out.